Distracted driving. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, each day in the United States, approximately 9 people are killed, and more than 1,000 people are injured in crashes that are reported to have a distracted driver. Excuse me. Distracted driving is becoming an epidemic, not only in the United States, but across the world. If there's a motor vehicle and a person operating that motor vehicle, chances are, at one point or another, they've been distracted. But you know what? It's 100% preventable. We make those conscious choices to be the distracted driver. We choose to do things that, take our eyes off the road, take our mind off the road, or even take our hands off the wheel. I could tell you guys that I've never been a distracted driver, but unfortunately, I have been. And I am completely guilty. But you know what? I have chosen to do something about it. I have chosen to make a valid effort to always stay focused while I'm driving. And I challenge you guys to all do the same. At one point in our lives, we have all driven a motor vehicle. And more than likely, during our time behind the wheel, we have been distracted whether we realize it or not. So today, I'd like to persuade all of you to always refrain from visual, cognitive, and manual distractions. So the first of those distractions I'd like to talk about is visual distractions. It only takes 3 seconds after a driver's attention has been diverted from the road for a crash to occur. 3 seconds. That was 3 seconds. That quickly, a crash can occur when we're not paying attention. Oh, excuse me. So visual distractions include things like looking at your GPS, looking to see who's calling you or texting you, looking at the billboards, looking at the construction workers, anything that takes your mind or your eyes off of the road is a visual distraction. So ways to prevent visual distraction is to, set your devices up prior to your travel. Turn your phone on silent so you don't hear those phone calls and those text messages coming in and you're not tempted to look at them. Your GPS, make sure that you know your route prior to your travel, because every time you look at that GPS is the moment that you're not looking at the road and you're becoming a distracted driver. Another big thing, avoid the billboards. Billboards are put there for a reason, for you to look at them, but if you're looking at them, you're not looking at the road. Don't look at the construction workers. Pay attention to what's in front of you. Watch the road. Another big thing is, don't look at that police officer. He's doing his job. He's pulling somebody over. It is none of your concern. The second distraction that I'd like to talk about is cognitive distractions. So cognitive distractions are, according to the Department of Motor Vehicles, a cognitive distraction causes your mind's focus to drift away from your driving. So examples of cognitive distractions would be talking to another passenger, daydreaming, being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So personal story. I guess it's not my personal story, but it's my best friend's story. So her husband was driving down a 2-lane highway, and the way he was getting ready. He had stopped because he was turning left and waiting for the oncoming traffic to pass before he turned left. But because it was a 2-lane highway, he had to completely stop. There was no turning lane. So he stopped waiting for the oncoming traffic to pass. He looks up in his rearview mirror and there's a car coming down the highway at 65 miles an hour. Not slowing down one bit. So what does he do? Excuse me, my phone's going off. See how easy that was to get distracted? I should have turned that on silent before I started this video. My apologies. So back to my story. Anyways, he realizes this car is not slowing down. And so in an effort to try to ease the crash, he just floors it, just goes full force with his pickup to try to get back up to speed so this car doesn't come smashing into him. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The car just rear-ended him at 65 miles an hour. And it was a mother and her 10-year-old daughter in the car. They didn't die, thank God. Oh, thank God they didn't die. But both the driver, which was the mom, and the passenger, which was the 10-year-old girl, they were, both of their legs were crushed, just crushed from the impact. It could have been much worse. And the mom, the driver of the vehicle, admitted to being distracted. She was not paying attention. She did not see that my friend's husband was stopped in the middle of the highway, clearly with his turn signal on, waiting to turn. This is just a crazy example of not paying attention. So, over the course of an average 16-minute trip, parents that had kids present spent 3 minutes and 22 seconds with their eyes not on the road. So that kind of just goes along with the story I just told you. That mom was talking to her daughter, her eyes were not on the road, otherwise she would have seen that pickup stop there. And according to Geico Insurance Company, a good way to avoid cognitive distractions is to limit the number of passengers as well as the level of activity inside the vehicle. The last distraction I would like to talk to you about is manual distractions. Manual distractions may or may not be associated with either or both cognitive and visual distractions. Examples of manual distractions is eating, because it's taking your hands off the wheel. Drinking, once again, your hands are not on the wheel. Doing your makeup, once again, my hand is not on the wheel. Reaching for anything, I go to reach for anything, my hand is coming off of that wheel. And a manual distraction is anything where your hand is being removed from the wheel. So eating, reading, and applying makeup all increase the likelihood of having a collision by 2 to 3 times. So just those simple things that can easily wait until we're out of the vehicle, until we're parked safely off on the side of the road, in a parking lot, or we're not even in our vehicle. Eating, drinking, doing our makeup, reading, all of those things can wait. Why do you have to do them in the vehicle? The most talked about manual distraction is texting and driving. And did you know texting and driving is 6 times more likely to get you in an accident than drinking and driving? Those numbers are crazy. You're more likely to get in a crash from texting and driving than you are drinking and driving. Not that I'm promoting drinking and driving, by no means am I not, because neither one of them is good. So, in conclusion, we have talked about visual, cognitive, and manual distractions. A visual distraction was anything that took your eyes away from the road. A cognitive distraction was any type of distraction where your mind is not focused. And a manual distraction is any type of distraction that takes your hands, either one or more hands, off of the wheel. So, given all of the distractions in our day-to-day lives, please do not be a distracted driver. I challenge you all to keep your eyes on the road, pay attention to your driving, and do not take your hands off of the wheel.